Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Thursday, May 6th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Moore. The Minnesota game is in 119 days. The game against Michigan in 205 days. On yesterday's show, we talked about the impact that the transfer portal could have on this fall's Ohio State team. Today, my guest is one of the players who just went through the portal to find a new home. His name is Zaid Hamdan. He was a walk-on defensive lineman for the Buckeyes for the last 3 years and just committed to James Madison University. Zaid, first of all, congratulations, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Tom. Thank you for having me.
So coming out of high school, you had, a lot of times when people think about walk-ons, it's like, well, I didn't have a scholarship offer anywhere else, so I decided I'm going to walk on because I want to keep playing football. You had kind of a different story. You had offers to play at more than 20 schools. So what made you decide to walk on at Ohio State instead of maybe being a scholarship guy somewhere else?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest part for me was it was the biggest football near me. Out of all the offers that I had, just being an Ohio kid and getting the opportunity to play at Ohio State with the high level football that they have and everything else, that was a big portion of it. The other part of it, for me being a D lineman, is growing up playing that position that the best coach in that business is Coach J. My high school coaches told me that. My high school D line coach played in the league for 8-9 years, and he told me, he was when I was coming up learning how to coach, that was the man. So Coach Johnson's expertise and just everything he kind of brings is just phenomenal. I can't even really put it into words. He's just an amazing coach. And then I feel like the other biggest aspect of it too was when I took my visit up here, it was just, I know a lot of people really say this as a cliche, but the brotherhood is really real at Ohio State. Between all me and my teammates and friends, yeah, even since I've been here since freshman year, I still talk to guys that left in that 2018 class. It's just the bond you have in the locker room. I just felt it different when I came up for games and just talking to the other players.
You mentioned Larry Johnson as a coach, and that was something I wanted to ask you about. Whenever we talk to guys on the defensive line, they always have these it's always this really seemingly really little things they're trying to work on, these really fine points. Hey, I gotta really work on my get off this year, or we see you guys pre-game doing these little drills, and it just looks like you're having this little hand fights on the sidelines. And I think the people who don't know what you're doing, it's what are they doing? Are they having a slap fight? What is going on? So what is something with those little fine points of the game? What is something he changed about your game that you wish you knew maybe back in high school?
I feel like there's two things. One, from a mental perspective, Coach J is extremely smart, and there will be times in the film room where we'll be watching film, he'll be like, hey, the tight ends here, the running backs here, they're in this formation, these are the type of plays they run. And he'll literally start crossing off plays. And he'll be like, this play can only be either one or two things. It's either got to be this or this. So I really feel like the mental aspect of my game has progressed so far because of Coach J. And that's honestly, I give credit to him, because I feel like that's another reason why we can play so fast. Just kind of understanding the bigger scheme of things instead of just oh, I got the A gap. You understand, okay, so I got this gap, this guy got to do this job, this guy got to do this job, how it all works together and how that keys off the offense as well. Just deeper than X's and O's is what really Coach J is amazing at. It's one of the biggest things that I feel like people don't give him enough credit for, is his mental IQ to the game. And then the other aspect that I would say physical, the biggest thing he really changed about me, and something that I feel like a lot of, like you said, a lot of people don't really realize, they don't really see the drills as my first step. And, I'm Chase and all those guys can attest to that as well. I mean, their first step is ridiculous. And that's all the credit to him and all the drills he does, because I feel out of high school, a lot of guys don't really know how to get off the ball like that. They don't really know how to do all the small things correct. And even from something like getting out of your stance, which is the most fundamental thing you've been doing since you were young in football, the way that he can tweak that and change it to make it as close to 100% effective as possible is crazy to me. Just all the little things you were talking about. But I feel the get off is the biggest one physically.
You got to do a lot of cool stuff during your 3 years as a Buckeye. You have a couple pairs of gold pants, 3 Big Ten championship rings. Saw you on the field at a couple college football playoff games. And I mean, is there one memory that really stands out as your favorite game or favorite memory at Ohio State?
Oh my God. Favorite game. What year was Dwayne in Paris here? I feel I've been here for
2018.
Yeah, it was my freshman year, 2018, man. that game, I remember I had hurt my foot, so I was on my scooter scooting around freshman year, and I remember just sitting on the sideline right before kickoff against the Tino North game, and it was like dark and like it wasn't sunny that day, and there was just like it was packed, and I've just never felt any energy like that in my life sitting on the sideline. Like I wasn't even dressed in pads, like just the level of electricity in the air that game was just incredible. And then we came out, we put a whooping on them, which made it even better. But like, yeah, that 2018 game was probably the craziest experience, like feeling I've had as a Buckeye player.
You've mentioned Larry Johnson a couple times and how he just like is every time you talk to someone, he is just like this beloved figure. And every time we get to talk to him, you see him on the sidelines, but we don't get to talk to him very often. When we do, it's like talking to your grandfather. It's like this very nice, soothing, calm voice, very authoritative, but very calm. But what did it mean to you and the rest of the guys in that room to see him get a chance when Coach Day had COVID last year for the Michigan State game, for Coach Jay to get a chance to be that interim head coach, win a game as a head coach? Like, how cool was that for you guys to see him get to do that?
Oh my God, that was awesome. On top of that, like, just because Coach Jay has been in football for so long, and like to see him get that opportunity to lead like a blue blood program like us to a victory. And Coach Day says it all the time. It's not easy to win football games, especially at this level. And just to have him be the first African American coach, the first Black coach to do that, the head coach to do that this year, especially when I was there and being a part of his unit, that was like really, really special. Because we talk all the time about like 9 strong and Rushman pride and like R2X, and like just to see like kind of the leader of our group be able to lead the whole team as a whole. I'm not gonna lie, it was like the unit was hyped. Like that was really cool. And then dancing in the locker room after the win, and it's those little moments like that you don't really think of until 5-10 years down the line. But yeah, that was an awesome experience.
After last season, you decided to transfer. So what made you decide that the time was right to move on?
I feel like the biggest thing was, I'm getting my degree this spring, which is honestly, I'm probably going to backtrack a little bit on my first question. That's probably another big reason why I came here. Just the academic schooling is amazing. And on top of that, Corona year, a lot of guys coming back, and I just felt like I just needed more playing time, and I just could have found a better opportunity somewhere else.
And you did get on the field. Last year was kind of a weird year, but 2019, you played in 3 games. You had a couple tackles in a couple games. You did get a chance to play a little bit at Ohio State. So tell me a little bit about the process then to get in the transfer portal. Because, I assume this is just a bunch of paperwork, but like what kind of things do you actually have to provide to officially enter the portal? Are you giving them college transcripts? Are you giving them height and weight information? Are you giving them anything about the type or level of schools you're interested in? Or is this just like name, position, your old school, and that's it? Like, what do you actually have to do to get into the portal?
I'm not going to lie. I feel like the college transfer process is basically like high school recruiting all over again. Like quite literally. Like, so like, I really, you tell the coaches, I'm assuming most people do. And then, you have a conversation, obviously, all that comes by. And then, but when you're really ready to do it, all you have to do is, put your signature on a form and submit it. And then within like 48 to 72 hours, I think they put your name in the portal. And then from there, really just your name is just out there. And then what most people try to do is they announce it on Twitter or something, because, most coaches and stuff, that's how they get their information these days. Nobody's emailing film or anything. Everybody's just following on Twitter and stuff like that. So really, you kind of just put out like a Twitter thing, and then from there, the coaches just start following. And I think the internet, this is one of the things I feel like the internet has done really well of, is like, there's those transfer portal accounts and stuff where all the coaches follow, and, you tag them in some stuff. I tag them in all my offers just because, they retweet it. There's 300-400 other coaches that already follow that account. And it's kind of just like I really say recruiting, especially at the portal, is really all hype. Like after I got my first offer, a lot more coaches followed suit and everything like that. But yeah, you don't really put out a memo or anything. You kind of just, it's like weird. It's really like high school recruiting. You kind of just waiting for somebody else to come along, just talking to coaches and stuff. There isn't really like you don't really go into it completely knowing where you're going at. I feel like everybody has like a decent idea, or if they've had a school in mind, but like really, it's really just like the recruiting process in high school again.
So it was teams reaching out to you. This was not like you contacting teams and being like, "Hey, I'm in the portal," or hey, if it was a team that recruited you a couple of years out of high school, like, "Hey, remember me? Like, you wanted me then? Do you want me now?" Like, how does that communication work? Are you reaching out to teams? Was there like teams that you got recruited you earlier reaching out to you now? Like, how did that actually work?
For sure, yeah. So like what I did is like after I posted it, a lot of coaches hit me up and followed me, but like I was also trying to be proactive as well. And like, I called my high school coach. I called other coaches that I knew in high school, like you said, and after building those relationships. And honestly, I give big credit to the Ohio State staff, the coaches. I mean, they went hard for me, and they really did try to help me find a home. And I can't say that for a lot of schools. You know what I'm saying? A lot of schools, when you leave their program, you kind of, but like I can honestly say that like all the coaches at Ohio State were amazing, helping me out, calling other coaches, like anything I needed, they were there for me. So yeah, it was kind of just a mix of all three, them reaching out to me through Twitter, me kind of doubling back on my relationships, and just the Ohio State coaches helping me out in general.
I saw you had I saw at least 3 offers on your Twitter, but how many teams did you actually talk to? Did you have a ballpark? Was it 10, 20, 30 teams that you actually talked to since you entered the portal?
Yeah. So like I talked to like, I'd probably say like 30 schools. I'd say probably like 20 to 15 of them are like FCS. A lot of the other ones were FBS. Like you said, this year is really crazy. So like the biggest thing was like people trying to figure out scholarship numbers. And, there's some schools that are smaller that may have the scholarship things, but, they're not blessed like us at Ohio State, where they have the capacity to afford that. So trying to figure out scholarship numbers between schools and stuff like that was definitely really tricky. But it was about 30 schools that were like I was seriously talking to. Like it made like legitimate contact with. It wasn't just like a Twitter follow or nothing.
So I mentioned earlier, you're now committed to James Madison. The FCS is playing its 2020 season right now. I don't know if everyone knows that, but they basically didn't play an FCS season last fall. The FBS did, FCS didn't, so they're playing their 2020 season right now. James Madison is in the national semifinals this weekend against Sam Houston State. You may hold the distinction of being the first player to be a part of 2 different programs that made the semifinals in both FBS and FCS in the same season. That's pretty cool. So
wait, am I actually?
Well, yeah. I mean, are you on this year's team? Like, sort of. You're committed to. You were on the. I just thought about that. I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm gonna claim that.
Yeah, there you go. What made James Madison the place you wanted to be, and like, what were you able to do in terms of actually like checking out these different schools that you were hearing from?
I feel like you said what's the biggest thing for me going there?
Yeah, what made James Madison the place you wanted to be, and like also like what were you able to do in terms of like that you can't do official visits right now? So what were you able to do when you're sort of evaluating all these different places?
For sure. So like considering that me and everybody, all the other athletes have already been in the pandemic for about a year and a half, Zoom. So like the coaches always set up Zoom calls, whether it was like to watch film, to tour campus, stuff like that. I know every school I know of for real kind of had their media team kind of like film around campus during the virus so they could show people around. So really I got the full experience, except for me physically being there. Like they did as much as possible as they could, showing me around, what I'm going to do, what my daily life looks like and everything. And then the reason why I'd say I went there is like, I just see so many similarities between JMU and OSU, like the strength program, the culture, just like it's a football town. Like it's just, I really wanted to go to a program and to a culture that exemplifies like people like me, people that like to work hard, people that like to, get after it and stuff like that. And I feel like JMU is very similar to OSU in that, they're a blue chip, very hard nosed, get to work type of team.
And play at a pretty high level. That wouldn't be bad. It might get to add a little, a few more rings to your your collection before all is said and done.
Yes,
what
sir.
is going to be the thing that you miss the most about Ohio State this fall? Like when you mean that you have a lot to look forward to, but as you're kind of like sneaking a peek at your phone or whatever after a game, like check the Ohio State scores. Like what is going to be the thing that you miss the most about your time at Ohio State?
Oh my God. Man, it's the people, man. Like I tell everybody, I'm like, yo, like OSU special because of the people inside the Woody. It's not the other way around. And I tell them all that, like, and it's just like, God, I really can't even put in the words. Like the relationships I've built over the past 3.5 years have just been like incredible. And the biggest thing I'm gonna miss, obviously, is just like being in the locker room with your teammates, being at practice, just like being at the games. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. You know, that's the stuff you really don't recognize until you're gone. And it's awesome too, because like even with the social distancing that we had to do, always wearing masks and stuff, you know, with all the Corona stuff going on, you know, the whole team still found a way to be really tight and close last year. And like, you know, watching Justin get drafted, watching Trey, Wyatt, Josh, you know, all these guys get drafted. You know, that's another big part. Like I'm like I like missing out on my friend's success. Like, you know, I'm always going to be tapped in to watch Teron and Tyreek and Taraja and Chris and all these guys ball out, because like I've really built that brotherhood, that friendship with them, and that's really the biggest thing I'm going to miss.
Well, Zaid, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me, and congratulations on your degree, and the very best of luck to you at James Madison this fall.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, and thank you, Buckeye Nation, for everything y'all have done. Thank you.
A lot of times I go into those conversations kind of knowing what someone's going to say. That one was really interesting to me because there were a lot of that stuff about the transfer portal I legitimately didn't know. So I was very interested in having that conversation, having Zaid on to talk about all that. Excited for him, excited to let you guys know a little bit more about the inside workings of how all this stuff actually works when you see someone just tweet out, hey, got an offer, hey, going in the portal, like here's what that actually means. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that show as much as I did. That's just one example of the great content you can find at BuckeyeScoop.com. We have a fantastic team of reporters and insiders bringing you all the information you could possibly want about Ohio State football, taking you places that you probably wouldn't get to go otherwise. So you can check that all out at BuckeyeScoop.com. Membership is the price of a lousy chain store pizza every month. So go ahead and instead of giving yourself heartburn, why don't you give yourself access to our great team of insiders and some of the most interesting information you can possibly find about the Ohio State football and basketball programs and more. That's all at BuckeyeScoop.com. Also, make sure you check out all of our great podcasts. They're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of those. You can subscribe right there. Leave us a 5-star rating and review as well. That will help other folks find those shows. And finally, youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. You just hit subscribe. You'll get notified every time we post a new podcast, new camp video, new highlight video, new interview with the player or coach. You can find those all at youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. It's all free. All you have to do is subscribe, and then you'll get notified every time we post something new, and you can watch it, and it won't cost you a cent. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.